Now, if you do all of your swimming in a swimming pool, or the majority of it at least, and that lane rope and a trusty black line as a friend, there's a very good chance that the last thing you're thinking about is how to swim in a straight line. However, if come race day you don't want to blindly swim off in the wrong direction, being able to swim in a straight line is definitely a skill that you should want to have. So today I'm going to run through 5 simple tips for swimming in a straight line out there in the open water. So first things first, before we get in the water, you need to make sure your venue is going to be safe for you to do your open water swimming. So whether you're at the open beach, a river, or a lake like we are here, just make sure you read any signs or even have a chat with some locals if it's a new venue for you, and just double check that everything's going to be fine. If you're a little bit unsure, then maybe look for somewhere else. So tip number 1, now that we're in the water, we need to find some markers to swim towards to do our straight line swimming. So the first obvious option when we're somewhere like this is buoys. If you don't have any buoys, then hopefully there's some boats. We've got some boats in here too. And failing that, if you don't have either of those, pick something in the distance on the horizon that might be a marker. There could be a building or even a tall object like a crane or a big tree even that you can see in a straight line from where you're standing, and use that as an object to swim towards. So tip number 2 I'm going to talk about now is, in an ideal world, have somebody come along with you. Now, whether that is a coach, if you're lucky to have that, or even just a friend or a family member, but somebody who doesn't get in the water with you but watches you try and do this straight line swimming. Because from experience, I know very well that when you're down in the water, it's very easy to tell yourself that you're swimming in a straight line from point to point when you stop and have a sight or have a look to see where your destination is. But in actual fact, what you're doing is creating this banana type shape or a circuitous route that doesn't get you there in the most direct straight line, and that person on the shore will be able to say, no, actually, my feedback, you did this big banana type loop to get there rather than a nice straight line, which is what we're trying to do. Tip number 3, and that is sighting. Now this is key to being able to see what it is we're swimming towards, and we do this by lifting our head simultaneously as we're taking our stroke. Rather than turning our head to take a breath, bring our eyes, nose and mouth up above the water surface so you can really get a good view of what it is you're swimming towards. I aim to do this every 4, 5 or 6 strokes when you're swimming in the open water. You have to be diligent with this and just keep repeating that the whole way through your swim as you get towards the marker you're going towards. Now what this will do, because your head is heavy, the counter is to then drop your legs and make you almost feel like you're sinking momentarily, and it does slow you down. But you're saving energy here, because you would use far more energy if you started swimming off in the wrong direction and not taking that direct line towards the buoy that you're aiming towards. So all in all, I'd say sighting is a fundamental skill to the straight line swimming we're aiming for. So tip 4, and it's the old adage that practice makes perfect. Now right here in the lake, what I would mean by that is finding your buoys or your marker that I've talked about, and then simply repeating, going backwards and forwards from the buoy that you want to swim towards, and really getting a feel for swimming there in a straight line. Think about it as if you're in the swimming pool and doing a session. You're more than likely going to do 8 or 10 or maybe even 12 times the 50 or 100. Absolutely the same when you're in the open water environment. You just don't have that black line. And similarly, you need to think about practicing in other environments too. Should your race be in the sea, you'd have to think about possibly currents and waves. And equally, in a river environment, you're likely to have a flow in there too. And all of these things are going to have an impact on how you can steady your course and swim straight line. So get in and practice in all the different environments that you can. Tip 5, try and swim in a group environment, whether that be a club or even just a group of your friends, because swimming in a group is more than likely what's going to happen when you're racing, and that's what you do need to practice your skills of open water swimming and sighting in. More than likely you're going to want to follow feet, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be swimming in a straight line. That person you're swimming behind could well have no open water sighting skills at all. So be confident in your own spatial awareness and be independent. You have to be. If you feel like they're going the wrong way, swim in the direction that you think is going to take you in a straight line. And equally, be mindful of the fact that most of us, although we like the idea of bilateral breathing, we will likely swim with one breath to one side or to the other side most of the time. I know I'm guilty of always swimming with my breath to my right, and that will likely mean that you will pull in one or the other directions. So all of these things are stuff that you have to take into account, and you can only do that by getting in there and swimming with others. So there you go, that is my 5 tips for open water swimming in a straight line. And as I've said throughout here, it is a key skill to be able to get the most out of your open water swim session, and in particular when you go and get yourself on the race course. And as a final little bit of fun, we actually got a tip from Bart Earnouts recently, and he was remembering when he used to have a swim coach who would say to him, close your eyes and swim for 50 strokes in the direction that you think is where you want to go and see where you end up. I think you might be surprised. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Please hit that thumb up like button. Find the globe on screen to get all the other videos that we do here on GTN. And if you want to see a playlist about videos on the open water, including how to sight, you can find those here.